Hi. Um, it's Ken here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Today's date is Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. I have been talking a lot about the rapture myself, setting dates, which traditionally is just disastrous for any would-be scholar or serious Bible student to do is to set a date for almost anything. Our Lord said that we will not know the time of his second coming. Uh, I think it is the day and hour. He was specific about that, not just the time, but he said, I believe the day or the hour. And you know what? Let me bring it up because it's an important issue. I'll pause. Okay, join me while I, speaking of Christ telling us no one will know the day or the hour, but only the Father in heaven. Where do you find it? We find it in Matthew chapter 24, verse 36. But about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Now, a lot's been made of this, and I can't get off track too far. Of course, Christ, as God the Son, knew. Uh, if he's omniscient, but perhaps they are individual people, the Trinity. We know almost nothing about the Holy Spirit comparatively. Jesus came to show us the Father, and he said so. I don't remember him saying after almost, let's just round it off to 45 years of study, I don't remember Christ saying he came to show us the Holy Spirit. And so question has arisen, how can Jesus be God if he's not omniscient, knowing everything? He should know the day or the hour. Well, there are two parts to the Messiah, and there will ever be two parts now to the Messiah, to the Son of God. Once Christ, the Son of God, took on flesh, he will always be, for lack of a better word, a hypostatic union is the theological term for the joining of humanity with deity, without the blending or the mixing. They're together, they're not mixed. That is the theology that the early church fathers came to that decision, that understanding. It is a mystery. We don't need to know all this anyway. And that's not even my point. I just, but the issue is the day and the hour. Okay. Well, if you knew how confusing the Jewish calendar is to themselves, I'm sure there's disagreement within the Jewish community about when certain things begin and certain festivals end, especially when you compare it to the Gregorian calendar, and that's the one we use today, the Gregorian calendar, not the Jewish calendar. One calendar is, I believe, set on the around the sun, and the other one as the star, our star, we call the sun, and the other one is around the moon. I'm not good at these things, so I'm not going to explain it any further, but to me, that leaves some room. Okay, if we can't have our calendars 100% locked in, the Jewish calendar especially, then we're not going to know the day or the hour, because we really don't know what day it is. We're off a couple, maybe more. So, with that point made, people will go. I do believe that Matthew 24:36, and I think it's easily found and come to an understanding that Christ was talking about his second return. Okay? And let's make this bigger, shall we? Oh, what happened here? Okay, we're going to get here, make it bigger, make me bigger. We're done. Matthew 24:36, folks. However, there's a lot of division and tension over the rapture. There are groups of, I believe it's the Church of England, and it's since I'm not classically trained in a seminary, only to take the Greek, I've taken, perhaps a half a dozen semesters of New Testament Greek, so I could study and read and exegete on my own. In other words, I could check the Bible to see if it's right using the original language of Greek and the best critical apparatus type of New Testaments that I can find. Okay, that's better than most, and I do that, especially on critical, important scriptures. I'm taking my time with this one a bit, but I don't want to waste time. So I'm setting a date. Many people recently in this area, because it is now early October 2025. Today is the 8th. It's a Wednesday. I mentioned that earlier. We are now, according to a Jewish calendar on the internet. Okay, I have got to see if I can. Here we go. Let's see if we can get down to me. I have a Jewish calendar here ready to show you, and let's go back. I can't go back. Let's see if I can. Okay, pause. I'm sorry, folks. I should be more fluid, but time's running out. So so bear with me. Okay, I'm back. I straightened some things out. Here's a photograph of Jewish American children celebrating Sukkot, the Feast of Booths. See the booth in the back? This is what you'll see. We have a fairly large contingent neighborhood of Jewish people, a Jewish neighborhood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in an area we call Squirrel Hill. I like Jewish people very much. How they think about me according to their religion, I don't know, because I am a goy, or goyim, or a Gentile. So I don't fit. I am not, but they're friendly, and I think generally we can get along, and we do get along very, very well. It's just they've got tradition, and God actually said don't mix with the Gentiles. God wanted to keep the lineage of Abraham, who is the father of the Jews, pure. And there's a lot of reason for it. I'll teach on that another time. And but here you go. That's a homemade booth lattice, and there's always some greenery, palms, or not really palms, but I'm not inclined. I don't have a green thumb, so I'm not inclined to. I looked it up, and I don't have it set to memory. but there's always some greenery involved. So if you drive through Squirrel Hill in Pittsburgh, because this is local, you'll see some booths up probably right now. I want to show you a calendar. Let's see if I can get this up. Hey, here it is. Wow, that is, let me get further back. That really reflecting a lot of light on my face, too much actually. And let's get this shrunk down so you don't see me. Okay, this is this month in a Jewish calendar, let's say. Yom Kippur was the 1st of October, so it's past. Yom Kippur means the Day of Atonement, and I believe that is the day that actually Christ died on the cross, that we would probably call Good Friday if you're Roman Catholic. And starting down here on the 6th, we had Sukkot, and this is all about the festival Sukkot and the rapture. Okay, this whole video that is now 11 minutes long is about us being removed due to some new information brought into this theology from NASA. We've never had anything looked at until now. I've never seen it. I'm sure that Tom Horn, the author of the theory that I'm putting forth today and have been, that we stand a very, very good chance, if at least 2, maybe 3 ifs, okay, happen. What I'm saying to you today is that we should be, see the 14th right here? It's the last day of Sukkot. Now, according to, I had just said earlier, there seems to be a disagreement. I had looked up Sukkot, and Sukkot was supposed to be 5 days or so from the 9th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, 6. 6 days, okay? And it shows here that it started on the 6th. So, okay, it doesn't matter. It ends on the 14th. Here's the math and an if. And the new thing, the new factor, it's huge. It that we are throwing into this date setting that I don't like to, and scholars don't like. Good Bible students that don't get excited and I believe are truly called to learn and teach, certainly to learn. Because nobody teaches unless you're called. Nobody's called to teach unless they're called to learn. Okay, and it's. It makes sense. God's not a God of confusion, of course. So He's not going to call someone who's going to lay in bed and learn everything. No, I've spent thousands of hours. I probably spent 1,000 hours just learning Greek, much less the other things. And I'm not that good at reading Greek. Believe me, I'm not. But anyway, continuing on, there's NASA has brought up the fact that 3.5 years from the 14th, that's next week. Today is the 8th. See my cursor? Today's Wednesday, the 8th of October, 2025. Sukkot will end on the 14th, next Tuesday. And here's how the theory goes in an if. The new factor, and it's huge, and it's never been, and it is new, is that a secular entity called NASA says there is actually a huge asteroid they named Apophis, coming in. And it's going to skim past Earth or hit Earth 3.5 years to the day of next Tuesday, the 14th. Here it is, okay? See my cursor? This is the day. I should make a big X, but I got this off the internet, and that's good enough. You can just keep looking there. The Feast of Booths. Why? God has traditionally done things and has set up through the Bible remembrances, feasts that are ordered by God, commanded by God, to be kept. These feasts are to be kept. Why? Because they indicate certain workings of God that will be taking place in the future, and they work as remembrances, like Yom Kippur in the Day of Atonement, back when Good Friday, when Christ died on the cross. We look back to Yom Kippur that year, the Yom Kippur of, 33 AD, I guess, but we look forward to Sukkot. Now, Sukkot is called the Feast of Booths or Tabernacles. And you saw the picture of the kids standing in front of the booth. You go through and actually it's right here. There's a picture right here. See my cursor? You can barely see it, but there it is. And but more importantly, Sukkot officially refers to the ingathering, gathering in the sheaves and things like that. Well, isn't that the rapture? Isn't that it? Aren't we? And I'm assuming you believe in the rapture, and I certainly do, and this is all about it. The rapture is the ingathering of the church before, let's say, the fields are set afire. God's bringing in the good fruit, not because we're good people, but because we're saved by grace. We're sinners saved by grace, of course. But the Jewish festival of Sukkot is known among the Jews, I would say, more as the Feast of Booths, as a remembrance of the 40 years that God kept Israel safe in the wilderness, and they had to sleep in tents or shelters and things for 40 years. And shoes didn't wear out, though I never looked at actually fact up. And things like that. And yet, the more important thing, excuse me, I got a puppy that's interested in something outside. Let me close my door. So let's just, though it's called the Feast of Booths or Tabernacles, let's call it the Feast of Ingathering. And with that, let me bring something up from Wikipedia. Is that Wikipedia? Explaining what Sukkot is. Maybe I'll just show it to you real quick. Being a video, you can stop it and read it at your leisure. But I have to go beyond, I think. Yeah, I have to go beyond this. Look at this calendar. Well, no, let's stay on it for now, because I have trouble moving things around. I'm not good at doing this. Show and tell. On the internet, on the computer. Guys, we think, let me give you the whole scenario. The new thing is that there is something coming in from space that will change the world. Potentially. We get this information from NASA, not from religion, not from the Bible. This is secular. This is a new factor, a secular factor, smack dab in and buried into biblical prophecy. And, 100 years ago, they didn't know this thing was coming. And it was just told to us publicly back in 2004 when they first saw, or they claim they first saw, which is 21 years ago. They claim they first saw Apophis coming towards Earth. Now, we don't know because our government habitually lies to us and has us by the nose. We have a ring in our nose, and we go wherever the government pulls us emotionally, intellectually. We shouldn't be so easily led, but we are, and that's the human nature that we deal with. Excuse me. Okay, good. I'm still recording. I'm 20 minutes into this. Guys, I'm taking my time. It's going to be a little longer. I've gone longer than 15 minutes. Let's see if I can wrap this up quickly and still give you enough information, okay? Stay with me. Try, please. Come back later if you pause and come back later if you have to. Okay, this is about timing and about something secular information that NASA is the actor bringing in the new information of an asteroid that can destroy, well, it'll change the world forever for the most part. I mean, this asteroid they called Apophis, which is named after an Egyptian god of destruction and darkness, okay, is the size, at least reportedly, they have consistently reported it as big as the Rose Bowl or bigger, okay? That is a big rock. And now what do asteroids, how fast do they move? Well, did you know a speeding 22 bullet, you all know 22s and 38s, whatever, they only move about, let's say, 1,000 miles an hour. Well, this thing is coming in at reportedly, and the speed is all over the place because we're being lied to. So sometimes you hear the speed is as high as 84,000 miles an hour. That would be 84 times faster than a speeding bullet. And so we all know from a little bit, or you should know, if you're of average intelligence, that speed and mass upon impact adds up to the type of impact, the size of the impact. Well, we've got something bigger than as big as the Rose Bowl coming in at least 80 times faster than a bullet. If it hits the Earth, there's going to be a problem. Now, where on Earth is it going to hit? It's going to hit in the Pacific Ocean, just about 100 miles off the southern tip of California. So the major impact will be perfectly aligned to cause tsunamis. Even the spokesman, the unofficial spokesman for NASA is an astrophysicist, a nice black fella. I mention that because, well, I don't know. You don't even have to anymore. We have a lot of intelligent, well-trained people, doctors that are of color. But his name's Neil deGrasse Tyson, and you can easily look him up in conjunction with Apophis and listen to him. You'll find him that give different answers to the size of, especially the size of the tsunamis. The tsunami will cause more death on the Earth than the impact will. The impact, of course, right off the California coast, southern California coast, will set off all the San Andreas fault lines. It will set off, I'm sure, Yellowstone caldera, and of course a caldera is the name of a really, 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 really big, I missed names here. Yes, Yellowstone is a huge, huge volcano, and this impact from this asteroid will set it off. Yellowstone sits at the western part of the United States. Believe me, it's it's kind of hanging on a hair trigger now. So between and remember, they named Apophis, the god of death and darkness, because when it hits, we're going to have, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, consistently he does say that the crater in the Pacific Ocean, 150 miles off the shore, will be 3 miles deep, 3 miles wide. That's a lot of water and dirt in ocean floor up in the air. Then we get the eruption of Yellowstone volcano, and we're going to put spewing things in the air as well. And then there'll be fires all over the world, especially America, because of the impact. And so certainly in this hemisphere and this part of the globe, North American and South American continents, there's going to be effectually a nuclear winter. You will not see the sun, so that's darkness, okay? They know what's coming. And the tsunamis, will kill so many people. What's not always at the forefront of our knowledge is that most of the world's populations are found near coastlines or at a coastline. Water, oceans bring in commerce, send out commerce, and shipping and things. So, they're ports, and the cities grow up around ports. Pittsburgh is a fine example. Pittsburgh is at the confluence or the beginning of the Ohio River. We have Allegheny and the Monongahela rivers coming down, meeting at, we call the point, and forming the beginning of the confluence or the beginning of the Ohio River. Well, why is Pittsburgh there? Well, you've got the water. We have two rivers right there. Shipping, folks. Shipping, the steel made in Pittsburgh it went up and down the rivers, and as well as rail lines. And so the tsunamis are going to kill probably more people than the nuclear winter. And of course, you could but it probably wouldn't be too much of an exaggeration to say California, after the impact, will fall in the ocean. The whole thing. And of course, so far south in California, Mexico is going to take them, is going to be kaput. And, look at a world map, guys. And so, moving on, the big if is that we also have a parallel asteroid that God says will come and hit. It's found in the book of Revelation, chapter 8, verses 10 and 11. And it's called Wormwood. So we have NASA saying an Apophis thing is coming in, but we believe, now this is an if. Here's the first if. Even with the founder, I would believe, of this theory, Tom Horn, and his books on this, if Apophis is Wormwood, God says Wormwood will hit, not pass. NASA says, and let's face it, they can't tell us it's going to hit in 3.5 years. But if Apophis is Wormwood, NASA's giving the date that Wormwood's going to hit. Let's go under the assumption now, so I can move on without repeating myself, that NASA, when I say when I speak of Apophis, I'm speaking also of Wormwood. Wormwood, the first if Wormwood is Apophis, and we think it is, here's the second if. We also believe that Wormwood hits in the middle of the 7-year tribulational period. Okay, and we have a date. NASA's date of Friday the 13th, April 13th, 2029. See this 14 here? Coming up next week, next Tuesday? To the day, do the math, 3.5 years, count the days from April 13th, 2029, back 3.5 years. Why 3.5? Because it hits in the middle of the tribulational period. Now we know when the tribulational period's going to happen. We're not talking, we're forbidden to know, and we're not going to know the time of the second coming. I'm agreeing with that 100%. I'm not going against God's word. Of course not. But there's no prohibition that I believe in the Bible for us to know the date of the rapture. Well, you could say you can extrapolate this and that. The days, the Jewish calendar is 360, not 364 point whatever, or 365. It's not Gregorian. I mean, there's a few days of room where you can't do the math and say, well, let's just go, 7 years from this date and Christ will return. No. You can't be that exact. And God has allowed it and set it up to be that way. And but we can know this date right here. My point is, if Apophis is Wormwood, okay, and I think it is, if Wormwood does hit at the beginning, at the dead center of 7.5 years, by the way, for you that don't know this, the 7-year tribulational period is separated in two parts. You have the tribulation, 3.5 years into it, we've got what we call the Great Tribulation. That's when all hell breaks loose. And I can't think of a better way to change the world in a moment of time than having Apophis, Wormwood, hit the ocean right there. And you can kiss America, North and South American continents goodbye as far as living. We're not going to be able to live here. The death alone. And these tsunamis, though hitting in the Pacific Ocean, will come around and it will affect and devastate even New York that's on the Atlantic side of America, on the eastern coast. It'll completely wipe out Hawaii, probably Japan, Korea. Korea's a peninsula. Kiss Florida goodbye. Okay, it's a peninsula and shallow, land. All the shorelines are going to be inundated with huge tsunamis. And if you go back and you find some of my stuff, my videos that on the site that got hacked, the site that's under Ken Marchalinsky, Strengthening the Saints, you'll find a half a dozen at least videos done on what I'm saying right now in more in depth. Now I'm taking my time. It's already 33 minutes. And I'm sorry about the length of this, but you could put it down and come back later and finish watching this. Nobody said you got to swallow all this information at one setting. But see, time's running out. The first if is, again, I'm repeating, because this has to be, I have to give it to you sequentially, step by step. The first if, Apophis is Wormwood, then we know it hits. We know that in the Bible, 1/3 of the landmass in the world is gone, ruined, as well as the drinking water, the fresh water. Well, did you know that when you add the North American continent to the South American continent, it equals 1/3 of the landmass of the world? That's one of the mitigating circumstances that points to the reality of this. Okay, and now the second if is that, and I'm pretty sure we're right, that it will hit in the middle of the trib. And now because of the date given by NASA, we can come back 3.5 years and know the beginning of the tribulational period. Well, that turns out to be next Tuesday. This means, okay, now we have a third if. If we who believe that the church will not go through any part of the tribulational period. See, that within Christendom there is, among people that believe that in the tribulational period is 7 years, the time of, it's got several names, the time of Jacob's trouble, as well as the time of tribulation. Lost my place. Okay, I don't believe that we're going to be here for day one. So the 15th, next Wednesday, a week from today, should be the first day of the 7-year tribulational period. So you got 2 dates. Since we can't be here on the 15th, we've got up to the 14th to get out of here. So today is the 8th. So either we go today, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or we go Tuesday, but no later than Tuesday, according to this calendar, because we can't be here as a church to enter into the tribulational period that starts on the 15th. And again, you think it's just an easy thing to extrapolate the time 7 years later that Christ will return because of the 7-year trib. It's not that, believe me. I can't chase after this rabbit. And I'll just tell you, no, we won't have the day and we won't have the hour, okay? I'm sure we'll probably have the month. But Christ said the day and the hour. Let's not add to nor take away from God's word, shall we? There's a curse at the end of Revelation that says for people that do that. And I don't intend to be one of them. But it says day and hour. Now, what I need to do is check the Greek, but it's translated in the English as day and hour at that area. And I'm pretty, since I use a New American Standard, it's word for word translation. And I will check the Greek. And I'll make any changes if I can't verify day and hour is in that verse in Matthew. So that's it, guys. Well, you who are saved, just relax. We're not going to be here. But you got people you love and care about. You better talk to them before. See, we're not going to be here Wednesday. You Christians out there, if this is right, if this is correct, we have the privilege and the advantage of saying we're down to these hours. Get serious. We all have people we have been holding back on bringing the gospel to. Hard-nosed people that we figure will be a rejection and probably will break relationships if we really push. Well, it's time to push. Because we're not going to be here on the 15th to push them. At least put in their hands the gospel. I have a book out. I deal extensively what is the gospel of Christ and salvation. I teach the truth, in my opinion. The truth that the gospel is Christ dying for us. And the application of his atonement is through simple faith in the fact that he died for us. And if we ask him as a thief on the cross, remember me when you come into your kingdom, and believe that with some hope in your heart that'll happen for the asking, you'll be born again. That'll still work that way after the rapture. The gospel will go on. And once saved, always saved is part of the good news. You don't get yourself born again and then screw up and lose it. We'd lose it automatically. I'm always fighting sin, especially men. And you know about the sex and things. I mean, it's a monkey on our back. I'm an old man. I still like the pretty girls. And I love my wife, and I'm faithful. But, there's more, with a computer in your house, it's like having, it's a portal to pornography, privately, secretly, and the Satan, has done a heck of a job making. There's a joke, but it's also an observation that years ago, water was free and pornography costs money. Well, now pornography's free and water costs money if you buy it. It's true. And, women have been a source of true temptation. Did you know that Eve was the deceived one, not Adam? Adam chose to disobey God. Eve was beguiled by the serpent, not Adam. And that's why in I believe in Timothy, it says that God will not allow women to hold any sort of spiritual teaching and preaching and authority over a man. They lost that equality when Eve fell. And as a punishment for Eve, sorry, I'm still dealing, and we are all dealing with mistakes and sins we did years ago. To some extent, at least if nothing else, in our memory of our failures that still bite at us. So, another thing. So that is the whole deal. We have, you Christians, we got nothing to worry about. Get out there, get yourself something to eat at Eaton Park or something. Buy a pizza. Heck, get a case of beer. Don't get drunk. But, go have a beer. Relax. We're out of here. If I'm right, that's one of the ifs. If Apophis is Wormwood hits in the center of the 7-year trib, we come back 3.5 years. That is next Tuesday. Do the math. Go to April 13th, 2029 on the computer and come back 3.5 years, and you're going to find it is next Tuesday. All right, come to Christ. I just gave you the gospel. Put something in the hands of people, the gospel in the hands of people that you figure will be left behind. Because after they see the rapture, they're going to have a whole sober outlook on religion. Okay? And, some will come to Christ, some won't, no matter what. But you love them, they're not listening, get in their faces finally. They may, gift them with the gospel somehow, get paper in their hand, get my book. It's too late to get my book. It takes a week or two for it to be delivered. There are other things you can get your hands on and get sent to you overnight. Go to a good Baptist church and get some gospel handout tracts. And so they get led to Christ. Stay away from lordship. That's not the gospel. The gospel salvation has to be free, unfettered, unencumbered by promises of service and obedience to God. I can't make that promise. Though I do, I live for that. Let's get me up here. Though I live for that. And but I can't promise it. And I fail every day. Okay. I've really stretched this out. It's going to be 45 minutes long. And I'm sorry about its length, and yet I'm not sorry. You needed to have this put together. It's available. And after I'm gone, perhaps God will lead those to see this video. And they'll come to Christ after the rapture when they're left behind. They'll still be just as saved as you and I. They'll just have to go through the trib. So God bless. And I do love you. This is a labor of love. I'm not getting paid for this. I have no notoriety, and for the most part, I generally probably catch a lot of criticism for my ugly face and my lack of credentials. God bless and goodbye.